Welcome to the Doc Gallagher Radio Highlights. Doc is on the air Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. on KAAM Legend 770. Got a question or a comment for Doc? You can reach him at 1-800-GFG-4DOC. Now, here are some highlights from one of Doc's top shows.
Let's talk about some of these ways to have lawsuit protection. All right, an irrevocable trust. And, well, let's list them all and let's talk about each of them. Irrevocable trust, an LLC,
okay.
All right, in the state of Texas, annuities, insurance products, retirement products, that would include pensions, IRAs, etc. What are some other strategies for lawsuit protection?
You mentioned LLCs. We also use limited partnerships because the recourse against a limited partner is simply what we call a charging order. And that means that if there's a distribution, the money can go to the creditor, the judgment creditor, but if there is no distribution, then there is nothing for the judgment creditor.
Okay, and there's no forced distribution.
That's correct, and there's also no attachment of the limited partnership interest. So,
okay,
let me give it. I've given this example before, but let me give it to you again. My dad helped someone start a business, and there were three partners, and all three of them signed a note for this business to get started. When business went belly up, then the bank that lent the money went belly up. This is back in the 80s. And the RTC sold the note for pennies on the dollar. And then what I call the sharks came in. And at the time that they were suing on the note, two of the partners were bankrupt. My father was not. So fortunately, his assets other than the homestead were in a limited partnership.
I see.
And therefore unattachable. So there was never, even though he did get the judgment against him because he did sign the note, the judgment creditor was never able to enforce that judgment.
Because he had an LLC.
No, he had a limited partnership.
A limited partnership.
Limited partnership.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Talk about the irrevocable trust and why that is an instrument that has lawsuit protection.
Okay. Well, an irrevocable trust will usually have, you got to remember, an irrevocable trust is a separate entity apart from the client.
Right. Arm's length.
Arm's length.
Arm's length.
Now, there are certain features. For one thing, the person creating the trust would not want to be the beneficiary of that trust. Like when we do a revocable living trust, the client is often the trustee and the beneficiary.
Right. Revocable by definition means it can be changed.
That's correct.
It can be
irrevocable.
Revoked.
Cannot be changed.
Right. And the benefit, one of the benefits of that is you have access to it. You have some liquidity. Irrevocable by definition means it cannot be changed. And for some people, that is a benefit because it means that you technically don't own it. We mentioned 3 or 4 areas already where people are vulnerable to lawsuits. Everybody's vulnerable to lawsuits. And let's make it very clear, you can be totally innocent and still be hit with a lawsuit because we are a litigious society.
Well, and sometimes, lawsuits are used sometimes in the proper way. I mean, there's been a wrong committed in some sort, a tort, but sometimes they're just nuisances.
That's
and very often lawsuits will be used to extort. I don't know if I should use that word.
I can use it.
Okay,
because I'm not the lawyer.
Extortion is a crime, but this is all done legally. But it's done in a way that the plaintiff has no expectation of going the distance and getting a judgment. But the cost of the lawsuit is such that the defendant says, "Heck, I'll just make a settlement, get rid of this deal."
Well, in an earlier meeting, you mentioned a case where people have crafted a will that has in it no contest allowed, something like that.
Correct.
There's still people who contest it, still want to file a lawsuit.
If they went the distance, they'd lose, but they don't intend to go the distance.
Right.
This is Doc Gallagher. Do you know the number one question to ask a financial planner? How long you been in business? Good question. That's not the number one. How much were you going to charge me? That's a good question, but that's not number one. Give me some That's a good question. Get recommended, but that's not number one. Number one is, drum roll please. The number one question is, if I didn't have any money with you, Mr. Broker, Mr. Banker, Mr. Insurance Man, Mr. Certified Financial Planner, whatever title he or she gives themselves, ourselves, if I didn't have any money with you, would you still care about me? Because people are more important than profits. The good Lord has made us to give unconditional love and to accept unconditional love. You've got to be sure you totally trust that financial planner you're working with. If I didn't have any money with you, would you still care about me? That's the number one